We have seen how Jordan manages to avoid invasion by the Antichrist during the first phase of the war. That's not to say she becomes some sort of Middle Eastern Switzerland, a neutral party straddling the fence. On the contrary, Jordan has a big and surprising role to play in the last days. And as the neighbor sharing the longest border with Israel, we shouldn't be surprised to find that the Bible has a great deal to say about her fate. The Scriptures don't call this territory Jordan, of course. It is identified by the three principal people groups that settled the land. Let's do a quick geographical review. South of Aram, that's Syria, on the eastern side of the Jordan is the land of Ammon. Now, depending on what historical time frame you're looking at, Gilead lies between them. South of Ammon, at the latitude of the Dead Sea, lies Moab. These two nations were descended from the children of Abraham's nephew, Lot, a sad, sick story related in Genesis 19. If you'll recall, the Israelites who were to enter the promised land under Joshua were told to keep their hands off both Moab and Ammon. That story's in Deuteronomy 2, as well as the third Jordanian group, Edom. Never great at following instructions, however, half of the tribe of Manasseh, plus Gad and Reuben, in that order north to south, invaded Ammonite and northern Moabite lands, pushing them further east. But these lands were never allocated by Yahweh to the people of Israel. Edom is an interesting case. From a geographical point of view, this nation's patriarch was Esau, Jacob or Israel's twin brother. Originally, Edom was due south of the Dead Sea. It is often identified with Mount Seir, which is in the mountain range just east of the Arabah, which is the rift running north and south between the Dead Sea and the Gulf of Aqaba. So their origins are definitely within modern-day Jordan. But if you check a good Bible atlas, you'll notice that the nation slowly crept west and then north as time went on, eventually supplanted geographically by the Nabateans. By the time of Christ, the name Edom had morphed into Edomia, and their territory extended from Gaza, only a few miles from the Mediterranean, to the Dead Sea, which was now its eastern border. In other words, it ended up smack in the middle of ancient Judah. But for the sake of the prophecies, I think we can safely place Edom in its original location, within the borders of Jordan. Scripture usually handles them separately, therefore, so shall we, beginning with Edom. The last days prophecies concerning the children of Esau go all the way back to Moses.
And Edom shall be a possession. Seir also his enemies shall be a possession, while Israel does valiantly. Out of Jacob one shall have dominion, and destroy the remains of the city. Numbers 24:18 and 19.
The one he refers to is none other than the Messiah, who will destroy Edom not in its prosperity, but its remains. This isn't the last we'll hear of that connection. It is but one of many hints of Edom's bleak fate during the last days. Note that Moses compares the fate of Edom to that of Israel. So does Obadiah.
The house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, but the house of Esau shall be stubble. They shall kindle them and devour them, and no survivor shall remain of the house of Esau, for Yahweh has spoken.
Lest we come to the conclusion that the prophet is only talking about a people group and not necessarily about the inhabitants of their geographical location who moved in afterward, the prophet continues.
The inhabitants of the south, in other words, the Negev, he's talking about the Israelis here, shall possess the mountains of Esau, and the inhabitants of the Philistine lowland.
Not only will Israel again possess the Gaza Strip, the Philistine lowland, they will own southern Jordan, the mountains of Esau.
They shall possess the fields of Ephraim, and the fields of Samaria.
Read the West Bank.
Benjamin shall possess Gilead, northwestern Jordan. And the captives of this host of the children of Israel shall possess the land of the Canaanites as far as Zarephath.
midway between Tyre and Sidon, in today's Lebanon.
The captives of Jerusalem who are in Shepharad.
The location here is uncertain. It's possibly in today's Iran, but it was about as far removed from Jerusalem as you could imagine. The reference is apparently to the Jewish exiles scattered all over the earth in the last days.
Shall possess the cities of the south. Then saviors shall come to Mount Zion, to judge the mountains of Esau, and the kingdom shall be Yahweh's. Obadiah 17-21.
The prophet Jeremiah seems to have something to say about most everybody. Edom is no exception.
Against Edom, thus says Yahweh of hosts, is wisdom no more in Teman?
That's a city near Mount Seir.
Has counsel perished from the prudent? Has their wisdom vanished? Flee, turn back, dwell in the depths of the Arabian desert, O inhabitants of Dedan, for I will bring the calamity of Esau upon him, the time that I will punish him.
This isn't looking good. Dedan was located in the northwestern Arabian Peninsula, 300 or 400 miles south of Edom. Whatever they're being warned to flee from is going to affect thousands of square miles.
If grape gatherers came to you, would they not leave some gleaning grapes? If thieves by night, would they not destroy until they have enough? But I have made Esau bare, I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. His descendants are plundered, his brethren and his neighbors, and he is no more. Jeremiah 49:7-10.
Like Obadiah, Jeremiah predicts the total annihilation of Esau's line.
I have sworn by myself, says Yahweh, that Basra,
an Edomite city north of Mount Seir,
shall become a desolation, a reproach, a waste, and a curse, and its cities shall be perpetual waste. I have heard a message from Yahweh, and an ambassador has been sent to the nations. Gather together, come against her, and rise up to battle. For indeed I will make you small among nations, despised among men. Jeremiah 49:13-15.
The prophet goes on to say that the nations will fight against her. This can't refer to Antichrist's push to gather territory, however, because Daniel specifically reports that Edom will escape. That's in Daniel 11:41. The prophecy was fulfilled with the Babylonian and Persian conquests, but Greeks and Romans didn't have much influence there. Under these regimes, Edom was made small among the nations, but was not yet wiped out. But what was that about a curse? In Romans 9:13, Paul refers to a Malachi prophecy concerning Edom that placed it in the same on-its-way-out position that Jeremiah had.
Was not Esau Jacob's brother, says Yahweh? Yet Jacob I have loved, but Esau I have hated, and laid waste his mountains, and his heritage for the jackals of the wilderness.
It is fascinating to me that the biblical personality the Islamic scriptures try to pass off as Jesus, one who will return in the last days and support Imam Mahdi, is not Yahshua, but rather someone named Isa, that is, Esau, the one man Yahweh declared that he hated.
Even though Edom has said, we have been impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places, thus says Yahweh of hosts, they may build, but I will throw down. They shall be called the territory of wickedness, and the people against whom Yahweh will have indignation forever. Your eyes shall see, and they shall say, Yahweh is magnified beyond the border of Yisrael. Malachi 1:2-5.
So we see that by the close of the Old Testament canon, Edom was still alive and kicking. Though impoverished, it was still proudly self-sufficient, too stubborn to turn back to the God whose heritage they had once shared with Jacob. Yahweh, through Jeremiah, now informs us why Edom is slated for destruction. It's an old, oft-repeated theme, one that America would do well to heed.
Your fierceness has deceived you, the pride of your heart, O you who dwell in the clefts of the rock, who hold the height of the hill. Though you make your nest as high as the eagle, I will bring you down from there, says Yahweh.
There's very little that Yahweh hates more than pride. It leads us into all kinds of sin, not the least of which is the attitude that we're so great we can afford to ignore the will of Almighty God. Are we any better than Edom? I think not.
Edom also shall be an astonishment. Everyone who goes by it will be astonished, and will hiss at all of its plagues. As in the overthrow of Sodom and Gomorrah and their neighbors, says Yahweh, no one shall remain there, nor shall a son of man dwell in it. Behold, he shall come up like a lion from the floodplain of the Jordan, against the dwelling place of the strong. But I will suddenly make him run away from her. And who is a chosen man, that I may appoint over her? For who is like me? Who will arraign me? And who is that shepherd who will withstand me?
The primary fulfillment of this passage was in the displacement of Edom by the Nabateans, who, as we have seen, drove them west and north.
Therefore hear the counsel of Yahweh that he has taken against Edom, and his purposes that he has proposed against the inhabitants of Teman. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their dwelling places desolate with them. The earth shakes at the noise of their fall. At the cry its noise is heard at the Red Sea. Behold, he shall come up and fly like the eagle, and spread his wings over Basra. The heart of the mighty men of Edom in that day shall be like the heart of a woman in birth pangs. Jeremiah 49:16-22.
Once again, this demonstrates that it's not quite over yet for Edomite lands. Basra will be the starting place for the return of the Messiah's campaign against the armies of the earth assembled against him at Armageddon. I probably would have missed that one, but Isaiah speaks of the very same thing.
Who is this who comes from Edom with dyed garments?
That is, stained with blood.
From Basra, this one who is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength. I who speak in righteousness, mighty to save. Isaiah 63:1.
We'll cover the whole passage in detail a few chapters hence. This sneak preview is merely to point out that Edom will be involved. Like Jeremiah, Isaiah has quite a bit to say concerning Edom.
Come near, you nations, to hear, and heed, you people. Let the earth hear, and all that is in it, the world and all things that come from it. For the indignation of Yahweh is against all nations, and his fury against all their armies. He has utterly destroyed them. He has given them over to the slaughter. Also their slain shall be thrown out. Their stench shall rise from their corpses, and the mountains shall be melted with their blood. All the host of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled up like a scroll, and their host shall fall down, as the leaf falls from the vine, and the fruit falling from the fig tree.
He begins by warning all nations of the coming judgment, a warning we would all do well to heed. But almost immediately he gets down to cases, beginning with, guess who?
For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Indeed, it shall come down on Edom, and on the people of my curse for judgment.
There's that curse again, but in context it appears as if Edom is symbolic of all nations deserving of judgment because of their unbelief. He is not only the estranged brother of Israel, but also the estranged child of Yahweh. He represents all of unsaved mankind.
The sword of Yahweh is filled with blood. It is made overflowing with fatness, with the blood of lambs and goats, with the fat of the kidneys of rams. For Yahweh has a sacrifice in Basra, and a great slaughter in the land of Edom. The wild oxen shall come down with them, and the young bulls with the mighty bulls. Their land shall be soaked with blood, and their dust saturated with fatness.